It was the year 4386. People all over Huaxiu were practicing cultivation and enjoying the convenience brought by cultivation technology. Everything was peaceful until a level 5 giant frog attacked the city. A magic squad was sent 6 to subdue the monster, and at the scene of the battle, a little boy was seen eating a snack. This black-haired and red-eyed boy was so absorbed by his snacking that he was oblivious, or perhaps even indifferent, to the danger he's in just by virtue of being there. He's about to be hit by the giant frog when one of the members of the magic squad, Zhuoyi, brings him to safety. Years later, Zhuoyi is now hailed as the hero who saved the city, defeating the giant frog all on his own. And now, it is the first day of the new school year for Faction 60. The lone black-haired and red-eyed freshman is walking into the school when he is approached by 2 upperclassmen. They identify him as the Force Value 5 they found in a photo, and with lecherous smiles, the 2 promise to take good care of him. The indifferent freshman quietly thanks them, but they start badgering him for a protection fee. Suddenly, a golden beam comes hurling towards the ground in front of the seniors, which sends them both flying. From the rooftop, a smiling girl chides the boys for bullying someone with a lower force value than them, while the other stunned students identify her as the legendary daughter of the Flower Fruit Water Curtain group, Sun Rong. With a chorus of oohs and as from the adoring students, Sun Rong makes a graceful landing in front of the freshman. The girls all smiles as she whimsically promises to give the freshman her protection. And to this, he curtly gives her money as thanks before leaving. Both Sun Rong and the other students watching are left completely dumbfounded by the apathetic boy's behavior. Since it's the first day of school, the first-year students are to undergo a test to determine which class they'll be in. Students with excellent scores will belong to Class Elite. For their test, they have to face the incarnation of the spiritual force of the giant frog invader, and they are tasked to hit its head with all their might. The giant frog is actually sealed inside the incarnation, and unbeknownst to everyone, the cheeky thing's been absorbing bits of the student's spiritual force each time it gets hit. Just a little more, it'll have enough force to break through the seal. Out of the many students who tried their fists at hitting the frog, the most impressive one is the proud and graceful Sun Rong, who has a force value of 2019. Cue the oohs and ahs. Blessed with beauty, money, and power, she's a far cry from the bullied freshman earlier, the one with a measly force value of 5. His name is Wang Ling, and it's now his turn to take the test. Understandably, the students around are pretty underwhelmed to see a scrub like him taking his turn after Sun Rong's impressive performance, but the frog has a pretty different reaction. Wait, why do I hear boss music? The frog asks as Wang Ling is making his approach. The boss music is so epic that it takes the frog back to when it wreaked havoc in Huaxiu. It turns out that the hotshot Zhuoyi wasn't so hot after all. He was actually beaten up by the monster. But right before Froggy could defeat him, it got obliterated by the little boy himself while his own background music was playing. The kid is none other than Wang Ling, and he hates being bothered while eating crispy noodles. Having recognized the boss music, Froggy starts panicking, knowing full well that if Wang Ling got his grubby mitts on it, its soul and spirit will be obliterated. Meanwhile, Wang Ling's thinking to himself that he should contain his spiritual force to the minimum and pretend to try hard. And so, with his battle cry of Wang Ling lamely jogs to the frog. But before he could even hit it, something strange happens. The screen broadcasting his performance goes into a static. And when the broadcast returns, the giant frog is lying on its back. Everyone is stunned by this, and the force calculator starts going into overdrive, showcasing a bunch of 9 seconds for his score. There are so many 9s, like, probably more than 3. But they're not the only ones shocked by this turn of events. Wang Ling himself finds it strange since he didn't hit the frog at all. The exam administrator comes rushing to the room, distraught by what happened to his froggy, as he calls the evil demon king frog. While he's lamenting its apparent demise, Wang Ling quickly assesses the situation and deduces that the frog is just playing dead. Its remaining spiritual force changed into a spiritual body and got away. After gathering his bearings, the exam administrator gets up and sternly assigns Wang Ling to Class Elite. Shocker, it is now Class Elite's first summoning lesson. Their teacher mentions that the strength of the spiritual body they summon is in proportion to their force level. The class conjures all kinds of things, from magical girl wands to anime action figures. Sun Rong, being on another level among the others, summons a spiritual body of a dog. When the other students praise their goddess for summoning a demonic beast, Sun Rong coyly smiles and answers that she can't summon something that strong. But inwardly, the girl's furious, wondering just how much power it takes to summon those demonic forces. As for Wang Ling, he hasn't summoned anything yet because he's wary about the King of Beast. He'll end up conjuring. But since his teacher's waiting, he just goes through with it. Using a drop of his sweat, Wang Ling ends up summoning the giant frog, which complains about facing the powerful boy again. In their panic, some of the students run out of the room. Fortunately, Their teacher saves the day by using the dog Sun Rong has summoned. She fuses the giant frog and the dog through a talisman, forming a cute dog-like spiritual beast. The students end up fawning over it and calling it Froggy too while Wang Ling walks out of class. Time for some fun facts about Wang Ling. Fun fact number 1 is Wang Ling crawled out of his mama's cooch by himself when he was born. He even started walking as soon as he was out the womb, and this frightened his dad so much that he fainted. Can't blame him. Wang Ling has very doting parents, spoiling him with toys back when he was a baby. Because of his high powers, he can also hear people's thoughts, so from an early age, he already knew that people tend to not say what they really think. Since then, Wang Ling has always maintained a low profile. But Wang Ling messed this oath to normalcy up when he defeated Froggy at the tender age of 6. His parents saw this, and right then and there, they decided that it was best for him to double down on keeping a low profile. His dad searched the internet for ways to contain spiritual forces, so Wang Ling managed to contain his overwhelming amount of spiritual energy before entering primary school. He's also working on an amulet to permanently lower his spiritual power. On his 7th birthday, Wang Ling almost burned their house down after blowing candles too hard. In another instance, his powers sent his friends flying away from him. For some reason, their clothes were even removed. As impressive as her boy is, his mother stressed that she just wanted him to live a normal life. Likewise, Wang Ling isn't a stranger to his parents' painstaking efforts throughout the past decade. He knows very well that they've sacrificed a lot just to make sure he can live an ordinary life and be a normal boy. So for the past 10 years, he's been taking special pills that reduced one's spiritual forces. He also resolved to never exert too much of his powers before the new and more effective amulet pill is finished. At school, Sun Rong and their hot-blooded classmate Chen Ko are participating as candidates for class president. Wang Ling doesn't want anything to do with this, seeing as being the president is the opposite of low-key. As he walks around the school, he notices that dry noodles are on sale. And as we've already seen, the boy cares more about dry noodles than he does mass extinction, so he makes his way through the throng of students, hoping to grab a pack. Just then, a shady-looking man pays for everything sold at the store and tells the crowd that everything in the store is free for the freshies as long as they vote for Sun Rong. Now, who said dirty deeds are done dirt cheap? Chen Ko and his friend notice this and proclaim that soliciting votes is cheating, but Sun Rong arrives, saying that she's just demonstrating her abilities to solicit votes. Sounds about right, ma'am. As for Wang Ling, he only cares about dry noodles, so he says that he'll give Sun Rong 5 votes for 5 packs of dry noodle. Sun Rong then uses the art of seduction to woo the students to vote for her. So now, even her rival, Chen Ko, is under her spell. In class, they discuss the ancient arts of confinement, which includes the seduction spell Sun Rong used on the students. Sun Rong panics and fears that the teacher has seen through her schemes. The teacher explains that seduction uses incantations with hand seals to project the user's spiritual force on others, making them into the user's fans. For this spell to work, there must be gift-giving involved. As the teacher discusses this, Wang Ling realizes what Sun Rong did earlier. He recalls that he gave her a pill in return for the dry noodles, so he could no longer be under her spell. He signals to her that the dry noodles are delicious, but Sun Rong misunderstands this and thinks he wants her to consume the pill he gave her. So she does, to Wang Ling's horror. At the same time, a teacher tells them that the lack of spiritual power will end the seduction before it works. And since the pill reduces someone's spiritual power, Sun Rong's spell on the students promptly breaks. The teacher then asks Sun Rong to demonstrate the spell he had been discussing. But Sun Rong's weak from the pill, so she ends up tripping over the trash can. This leaves Wang Ling to demonstrate the spell in her stead. After that, class elections takes place and Chen Ko wins. Looks like Sun Rong's learned her lesson. For the next day, the first years are having their pill refining class. Each student has to bring their own furnace to school. Chen Ko, on the other hand, brings a large copper cauldron. He says that his great-grandpa used the cauldron to refine level 9 golden pills, so he's probably aiming to have the same results. As always, Sun Rong makes a grand entrance at school, but she's not quite herself. The first thing she does is approach Wang Ling, who immediately notices the symbol of seduction on the top of her head, realizing that she was affected by his seduction spell the previous day. He quickly breaks the symbol, and Sun Rong's released from the spell. In class, the students are asked to make vitality pills. Their teacher speedruns a demonstration, then urges the students to make the pills afterwards. Sun Rong brought a refining machine from her family's factory while Wang Ling's using a microwave oven. In the middle of class, Chen Ko's cauldron explodes. He runs out of the room crying, saying that his dad will definitely whoop his tush. To this, the teacher comments that it doesn't take enthusiasm and vigor to refine pills, but attention and patience. True enough, Chen Kao was overenthusiastic about refining pills, and well, about everything. It will take about 7 hours for the pills to be refined, so the teacher has the class leave the room first and then come back later. But unbeknownst to the class, there's a dastardly villain lurking in the shadows, and that villain is Cutie Woody Froggy too. Now that it's left behind the room, the dog is planning to eat one of the students' magic furnaces. Fortunately, Wang Ling arrives just in time before Froggy 2 can swallow it. He ends up chasing it outside the room. Still distraught over the damage to his cauldron, Chen Kao recalls how he begged his dad to let him bring their family cauldron to school. Meanwhile, Wang Ling is washing Guo Hao's furnace, which he saved from the bad doggy. Guo Hao sees him holding it and demands an explanation. Wang Ling explains that Froggy 2 put Guo Hao's furnace in his mouth, so he took it out and washed it. Meanwhile, a mind devil has already consumed Chen Kao's mind, which stemmed from his distress over his cauldron. As for Guo Hao, he's trying to shoot Wang Ling with his pentatoxic potion for messing with his cauldron. Alas, Chen Kao is approaching them when the potion is shot, so he gets hit and even drinks some of it. While Guo Hao's melting down, Wang Ling's completely casual about the entire thing, and he's even about to heal Chen Kao up with his powers. But Guo Hao stops him and urges him to help him make an antidote himself. Though he thinks that the effects of the potion aren't all that bad, he eventually yields to the overdramatic Guo Hao. While they're making the potion, Froggy 2 approaches the furnace to try and eat it once again, but Guo Hao quickly thwarts his efforts. But this leads them to learning that Froggy 2 can speed up the heating process. Wang Ling's surprised to learn this, so Froggy 2 arrogantly asserts that his whole SH-Tick is manipulating timelines. And so, the two ill-intentioned boys decided to exploit poor Froggy 2 into expediting things. Aside from being used for his powers, Froggy 2 is also used as Guo Hao's test subject. Maybe he should have just let Wang Ling obliterate him after all. Not long after, their teacher and other classmates are on their way to the room. Guo Hao tries to stall them but fails. Luckily, Wang Ling is quick enough to keep Chen Kao out of sight. The teacher inspects Guo Hao's furnace and finds a golden pill, which earns him a pretty high grade. Taken aback, Guo Hao is almost ready to cry as he assumes that Wang Ling put the pill he made in his furnace. As for Wang Ling, his furnace produced a burnt pill, earning him an earful from the teacher. This has Guo Hao feeling even more emotional as he believes that Wang Ling took the fall for him, so he can have a higher grade. And thus, Guo Hao considers him to be his friend for life. But the fact of the matter is, Wang Ling didn't do anything at all. His microwave made a crappy pill, and the golden pill that Guo Hao made was in his furnace while he was making the antidote. And since Froggy 2 was manipulating the heating process, Guo Hao's pill was affected by it too. Eventually, Chen Kao finally comes to, and Guo Hao tells him that he and Wang Ling found him passed out on the ground from exhaustion. He then directs his attention to the fixed up cauldron behind him, which has Chen Kao crying in gratitude. Turning to Wang Ling, the sobbing boy gives him an impassioned hug, but what Chen Kao doesn't know is that his fixed up cauldron is all thanks to Froggy 2, who remains unthanked in all this. It was a long and crazy day filled with blunders and misunderstandings, but it's thanks to these misunderstandings that a beautiful, beautiful friendship is now blossoming. These three boys